Thank you for joining us on this historic day for both the City of Detroit and the great state of Michigan. My name is David Weaver. I'm the Court Administrator of the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Michigan. As you can see, we have a number of key participants involved in the resolution of this bankruptcy with us today, and they are all eager to speak with you. I am here to introduce the first speaker. It gives me great pleasure to introduce my boss, Gerald E. Rosen, Chief Judge of the U.S. District Court and the lead mediator in the Detroit bankruptcy. Judge Rosen.
Thanks very much, Dave, and welcome to our courthouse, ladies and gentlemen, for what is really an historic day, not just for Detroit, but certainly Detroit, but our region and our state. Although we have come to the end of a chapter in Detroit's storied history, Chapter 9, today is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end. It may be the end of the beginning. And for those of you who know me, you won't be surprised to hear me start with a Winston Churchill quote. It's a new beginning for Detroit, our region and our state. And with the great leadership that you see up here, with the governor and the mayor and Councilwoman President Jones and the rest of the folks up here, there are just great things in store for this city as we exit the bankruptcy. My job today is to lead off with some thanks. And I have many people to thank. The governor and the mayor have given me an over-under. I'm going to try not to go over. But I want to start with Judge Stephen Rhodes, Bankruptcy Judge Stephen Rhodes. The best decision that I made in this case, wearing my hat as Chief Judge of the Court, was to recommend to Chief Judge Alice Batchelder of the Sixth Circuit that Bankruptcy Judge Stephen Rhodes be appointed to be the judge of this incredibly complex, complicated, difficult bankruptcy. And I must say, and I hope folks agree with me, that what Judge Rhodes displayed today in rendering the opinion that he rendered not only justified the confidence that we all on our court had in him, but that he exceeded all of the even high expectations that we had and more than justified the confidence that we had in him. He presided over this case with fairness, integrity, and honor, and he brought honor to the proceedings and a firm guiding hand to this case. It simply could not have been handled the way it was handled without Steve Rhodes at the helm. And for that, on behalf of my colleagues and our entire court family, I thank Judge Rhodes. The next thanks that I want to give is to my friend, longtime friend, and partner in this, Governor Rick Snyder and his team. The governor has, throughout this, from the very beginning, with his very difficult but courageous decision to file the bankruptcy petition, he has exhibited not only courage, but vision and leadership. And at the beginning of this, he said he viewed this as an opportunity for Detroit, as an opportunity. And I think Judge Rhodes' opinion today and the events that have preceded it in the past 15 months have borne out Governor Snyder's vision and his leadership. So thanks, Rick. I'd also like to thank the legislative leadership for shepherding through what was really a very difficult, when it started, people said it wasn't going to be possible to get it through, difficult package of legislation that not only funded the grand bargain, but it set Detroit on the right course for a secure future. And I want to specifically mention here the Senate Majority Leader, who is up here somewhere, Randy Richardville. The Speaker of the House, Jay Spolger. The Senate Minority Leader, Gretchen Whitmer. I don't know if Gretchen is here anywhere. She was just a terrific partner. The House Minority Leader, Tim Grammel. I don't know if Tim is here. And two other people who were absolutely key to getting this done. Representative Tommy Stallworth, who led the Detroit delegation. Tommy was a great partner in this. And in addition to that, John Walsh, is John around? He was going to be here, but I don't know. John shepherded the bill through the House, through the House committee, and was just a tremendous leader. Without these legislative leaders, we wouldn't be here today. Next, I want to thank the mayor, Mayor Mike Duggan, and his team. Once the mayor took office in January, he was a full partner in the mediations that led to the settlements that you heard about in Judge Rhodes' opinion. And I just want to, I'm going to editorialize a little bit here, but Detroit has a great mayor. I have known Mike for many years. He's the son of one of my colleagues, so part of our extended court family. And knowing that Mike is the mayor makes me even more confident in the future of Detroit. I want to also thank Kevin Orr. Judge Rhodes talked about Kevin Orr, the leadership he has shown in an unimaginably difficult, controversial position. He came in here as an outsider to Detroit and became one of us. He worked with us. He was a negotiating partner. We had some difficult discussions. But Kevin and his team performed remarkably, and they are, to a great extent, responsible for bringing us to where we are today. And I include within his team the Jones Day Law Firm and the leader of the firm, of that team, David Hyman, who was my primary negotiating partner. And by partner, you shouldn't think we were always on the same side. we had some very difficult conversations, but David was always there with an open mind and an open heart. And I guess Kevin would probably say an open wallet. Next, I want to thank the foundations. The list of foundations who came forward when nobody thought that this was going to be possible, when everybody, when I first sort of talked about the grand bargain, people looked at me like I was crazy. And it would not have been possible for this to have come to fruition without the leadership of the foundation community. I'm only going to mention a few, and I only know of one that is here, I think, and that's Miriam Nolan from the Community Foundation for Southeastern Michigan. The Grand Bargain started with Miriam when she brought 13 or 14 leaders of the largest foundations to the courthouse on November 5th, just a year ago, folks, to hear an out-of-the-box idea, by which the foundations would contribute to buying the museum effectively, locking it off from other creditors and protecting it, and using that money to help protect the pensions of Detroit's employees. So, Miriam, thank you, and thanks to all of the community, all of the foundation leaders and our partners in this, and specifically Darren Walker of the Ford Foundation, who made the single largest grant in that foundation's history, $125 million. Rip Rapson of the Kresge Foundation, who from the very beginning was a partner and pledged $100 million. And I'll just name a few others: Alberta Ibergarin, Bill White, Lejeune Montgomery from Kellogg, and I know I'm probably missing some folks. Tanya, are you here from Skillman? I don't know if Tanya was going to try to come. Amazing to have come together and helped us and put this together. Next, my thanks to the DIA for stepping forward not only to join in the grand bargain, but to contribute $100 million. And I want to thank the great leadership of Gene Gargaro. Gene is here somewhere. Gene, would you raise your hand? And his staff, Anne Marie Erickson and Graham Beal. Just great partners in this, and they came to us with an open mind and an open heart, and eventually an open wallet. Next, the retirees. As Judge Rhodes indicated in his opinion, in a sense, this bankruptcy was focused on them to a large degree, and the $3.5 billion of underfunding in their pensions, both on the general retirement system and on the police and firefighters retirement system. And they were wonderful negotiating partners, tough when they needed to be tough, and open-minded and open-hearted when they needed to be open-minded and open-hearted. So I thank them, their counsel, the Denton's law firm, who did just a terrific job and were great negotiating partners with us. And I think we have two retirees that most specifically and consistently negotiated with us, Shirley Lightsey and Don Taylor. I don't know if Shirley, Don, and their attorneys, Ryan Pleca and Brian O'Keefe. Don, Shirley, thanks for trusting us. Thanks for negotiating with us. Thanks for your partnership. I also, and this may surprise some of you, I want to thank all of the creditors and the lawyers and the professionals who negotiated in such good faith with us. I know some of you in the media thought that things were getting tense, especially with some of the creditors, and that there was bitterness, but I can tell you inside the bankruptcy and inside our negotiations, the creditors and their counsel and professionals were incredibly courteous, civil, open-minded, and willing to engage with us, and we would not have been able to get the settlements that Judge Rhodes talked about without them and the way in which they embraced the mediation opportunity. I kind of saved the best for last, at least in my parochial view, and that's my mediation team. The second best decision I made in this bankruptcy was to appoint a team of mediators that when I appointed them and introduced them, we had them over for dinner to my family. My then 15-year-old son said, "Dad, this is like the dream team." And I just want to call them out. Eugene Dreiker, who is the Dean of the Michigan Bar. My close friend and colleague, Judge Victoria Roberts, who couldn't be here because she's gone to New York to be with her daughter for the birth of a grandbaby any time now. Bankruptcy Judge Liz Paris from Oregon, who is also the judicial mediator in all the California bankruptcies. I can't say enough about Liz. She took, red-eye flights on a moment's notice. Absolutely incredible in her wisdom and sage advice and sense of humor and unflappability brought us through this. She'd probably be the most popular of the mediators with the creditors. I'm not sure where I'd rank on that list, but Liz was just amazing. My good friend and colleague, Judge Sean Cox, who I invited to come down, and he's back working in his chambers. Judge Cox, of course, mediated the DWSD and Water Authority mediations and was just incredibly persistent. Judge Wiley Daniel, the chief judge, former chief judge now of Colorado, an old friend, got actually the first agreement in this bankruptcy, the OPEB settlement for 2014, which served as a template. And I wish Wiley were here. Judge David Corr, former bankruptcy judge and district judge from Chicago, was just terrific. Judge David Lawson, who handled the tort claims for us. And finally, last but not least, Professor Gina Torrielli, who came in. We retained her as a consultant, and she became a full-fledged mediation partner. She was at the last mediation, the Fidjic mediation, which successfully ended at 2:30 in the morning, and she was just amazing. Judge Rhodes thanked Dick Ravitch. We actually brought him in as our consultant, which he was working for free, and Judge Rhodes stole him from us. But we could not have, his wisdom and his advice were absolutely invaluable. My staff, Judge Rhodes thanked his staff. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank my staff, who just worked unbelievable hours. My law clerks, Linda Holinsky, Jim Lewis, my admin, Donna Vinson, is here somewhere, and Donna was just amazing throughout. Thank you, Donna. Where are you? There she is. Standing in the back like she always does. Julie Owens, who is my courtroom deputy, but she functioned as much, much more since we weren't in a courtroom, and Julie was great. Long hours for all these people. And finally, my wife and my son, who put up with more than anybody can believe and endured through this, and the spouses and significant others of the entire mediation team. This has been a journey for us that culminated today. And so we thank everybody and thank the folks up here for the leadership, vision, courage, and wisdom that they've shown. Rick?
Well, thank you, Judge Rosen. To put it simply, Detroit has a bright future now. If you stop and look at this and you go back 15, 16 months to when I authorized the bankruptcy, it was a day people wondered what would be the future of Detroit. It was a situation to deal with 60 years of continuing decline and challenge within the city. I'm pleased to say today is a historic day in a positive sense for the city of Detroit. The city has a bright future, and it was because of the hard work of so many people. If you go back to July of last year, people had many different concerns, and very few people believed we could see a successful conclusion, let alone a conclusion in this time frame. It's here today. This is a day we should celebrate and enjoy, but it also marks a day that means we have more work to be done. There are so many people to thank. The judge went through a long list of those. I'm not going to repeat that list again. I would just reinforce his thanks because he did go on the over-under side on the over part by a very significant margin. I just want to mention a couple people that he did not mention from my team in particular that did yeoman's work that I do want to recognize, and that would be Rich Baird, Mike Adola, and Valerie Brader for their great work. But the team deserves so much, and again, he didn't recognize himself, but I do need to put him on the list, and that would be the Chief Judge himself. Jerry, thank you. What was this all about, though? To put into context in terms of stepping back from all the factual issues, what this meant to me and the way I view this situation is when the declaration of bankruptcy was made in terms of moving forward with this process. For decades, it had been Detroit versus Michigan in too many ways. The reason we have the success today is because there's been a massive change in our state over the last 16 months or so that it's now clearly Detroit, Michigan. That's something that needs to last. That's something we need to make into something truly special. Because if you step back and look, the only reason this settlements took place and the plan of approval happened this way is because people rallied in so many different ways. They rallied in terms of legislators from coast to coast, from the UP to the Lake Michigan shoreline in bipartisan fashion supporting this. It happened because the foundation community outside our borders and within our borders did unprecedented actions that had never happened before. It happened because of donors to the DIA stepping to the table to do wonderful things. It happened because of a mediation team doing incredible work. It happened because of Kevin Orr, and I need to thank Donna for their incredible efforts to make this happen. It happened because of retirees, and that's something we should never forget. I appreciate the sacrifices being made, and the difficult challenges that you face through this process and you may still face, to know that we're there to help continuing work with you during these challenging times and look towards a bright future as hopefully we continue to see a strong comeback in the city. We need to recognize that all of us came together. I want to thank the mayor and city council for their partnership. The best part of it is that work is just beginning. That's something that I really do look forward to. As we conclude today and we celebrate today, we have much work still to be done. If you look at downtown, midtown, the riverfront, truly exciting things, but we do need a continuing focus. We do need to redouble our efforts on the neighborhoods to make Detroit a place where people can raise their families, have their kids grow up, and have those kids want to raise their families right there and have a better and better quality of life. That's something we can all aspire to. I believe we're all committed to working together on that. And I look forward to a traditional governance structure with the mayor and city council playing their traditional role and having a supportive partner in state government, both with the governor and the legislature. That's exciting, folks. We have a bright future ahead of us. Let's go get it done. So with that, let me turn it over to a person that, again, has done incredible work. I don't believe we would be standing here today. I know we wouldn't be standing here today but for his efforts. And again, that's where I need to thank Donna and his family. We took him away from his family for a year and a half. He's done tremendous work, and so with great pleasure, Kevin Orr.
Thank you, Governor, and thank all of you. I'm not going to belabor the point of thanking everyone that both Chief Judge Rosen and Governor Snyder have thanked, because we could stand here all day doing that. The amazing cooperation from the state and its team, the city, the mayor, Council President Jones, the other members that are here today, and their staffs that worked with my staff, the out-county and nearing county executives that came together, the legislators that came together in May to support the funding has been tremendous. All I would like to say is I think what you saw today was the best of us, the best of Detroiters, the best of Michiganders, the best of Americans, coming together through a difficult but managed judicial process to get a result that's for the benefit of the citizens of Detroit, the region, and the state. It's an example that all of us should be proud of, that the rule of law, comity, civility, and unity prevailed, and sometimes not too easily, but eventually came through. I'd also like to say one thing, just as a point of personal privilege, to thank my staff. Stacy Fox, who's not here today, she has a little bit of a job being the general counsel of DuPont, Fortune 15 company. She abandoned me to go to higher ground. I'd like to thank Sonia Mays, my senior advisors, who's here today. I'd like to thank Shawnee Penn, who's somewhere back there, who worked with me today. Eunice Hayes, my assistant, who will now be working with the governor and with the mayor and his staff. I'm not going to get early. Sorry. The mayor and his staff. But I'd also like to thank all the employees in City Hall who initially held a little bit of skepticism and concern and eventually worked hard to come together to try to get the result for the benefits of the residents and also to get me out of town. With that, what I'd like to say to all of you, though, is for those of you in the press that have been studying this matter, keeping watch on it, reporting it accurately, for the most part, but relaying to the citizens in a way that sometimes perhaps I could not, what was going on with their city, what their future might be, and in a fair sense, what their leadership had done to pull this together and get an outstanding result that we hope in the future is gone to force. We'll go for it. As I said, finally, Judge Rhodes, what you saw today was a tour de force of legal acumen, skill, logic, and opinion. I've never heard anything like it, and I've been doing this for 34 years. And I mean at the highest level, Supreme Court or otherwise. It was a phenomenal effort, but I think what you have to recognize is through the almost month of trial, the literally thousands of pages of transcripts, the hundreds of thousands of pages of pleadings, that this judge, his clerks, and his staff cycle through that to give you a concise, targeted, and very, very sober opinion for the benefit of the city, but the American judicial system. I've never been more proud to be hired by the governor to do a little bit of a job that he told me about a year and a half ago, but more proud to be a judicial officer, an attorney, and an American than what we heard in that courtroom today. I thank all of you for giving me this opportunity, but more importantly, I look forward to returning the city back to its elected officials and residents so they can go forward and rise from the ashes again. With that, I think it's my time. My wife? Everybody talks about her. Obviously, I think, yeah, I better do it again, otherwise I'll have a larger honeydew list. I'm going to be in charge. You guys, where's security, okay? Obviously, as you've heard many times before, sometimes it gets a little hard for me to talk about it because the sacrifices that she and my children have made of holding it together for me and being strong, but also keeping it real. When I come home and saying, take out the garbage and walk the dog, I don't care what you're doing over in Detroit. That kind of keeping grounded is something you can't buy. She's the love of my life. She is the meaning of life to me with my children, and I thank her sincerely from the bottom of my heart. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my friend, Council President Jones. Thank you, Sister Warner.
Thank you, Kevin Orr. And first of all, I would like to thank all of my colleagues and acknowledge the ones that are here, President Pro Tem Cushenberry, Member Chantel Jenkins, outgoing Member Chantel Jenkins, Member Mary Sheffield, Member Benson, and Member Spivey. I'm going to start off by saying, as many say at times, life is not always easy and or fair. And from time to time, we've had some philosophical differences with the emergency manager and with the mayor. However, through these months, we've made it. And today, just as the sun rose to reveal a beautiful new day, Judge Rowe's decision is giving new life to the city we all love, Detroit. Our city, as it says in the motto, we will rise again. Now, our work truly begins. We must control costs and manage finances. We must find more efficient methods of service delivery. Most importantly, we must empower and employ the long-suffering people of Detroit. Just as we will work through a plan of adjustment after bankruptcy, a plan for our people is critical. So while we celebrate our city's exit from bankruptcy, let's refocus our efforts on getting citizens back to work, making our streets and neighborhoods safer, and rebuilding our population by creating a thriving and growing city. I, along with my council colleagues, am excited. I'm excited on this day, and I look forward to working with stakeholders to lead our city and to being the type of city we can all be proud of. To achieve this vision, it will require hands on deck with great ideals and constant energy to move forward. We are committed to ensuring this happens by collaborating with the administration, driving for financial and service excellence, and ensuring that processes and decisions are fair and transparent. I thank all of the citizens who have stuck in and hung in with us through this period and through this transition. And now I say, Detroit, we will rise. And with that, I introduce my great partner, who I think has been here before, Mayor Duggan.
Well, it was a pretty remarkable day, and as Kevin Orr said, what Judge Rhodes has accomplished is hard to describe. You look at what happened in Vallejo, California, a city the fraction the size of the city of Detroit. It was over 3 years in bankruptcy, and the length of the bankruptcy crippled that city to a point where it may never recover. To imagine that the city of Detroit and the magnitude of the problems could have gone through this entire process in 16 months, every Detroiter owes Judge Rhodes a debt of gratitude, and we're very happy to be able to get this fresh start. I know it's been said before, but Judge Jerry Rosen and his team, what they did was extraordinary on the grand bargain. And almost lost in all of this was Judge Sean Cox and his partner Rich Baird. We had a 40-year dispute on a water system, and it's almost like a footnote that it was solved in the course of this process. So what all of the judges and all the mediators did was remarkable. To the state legislature, again, something that was pretty amazing. Randy Richardfield, Jace Bolger, John Walsh, and Tommy Stallworth. The only thing I disagreed with Judge Rhodes today was the concerns he expressed about the Financial Review Commission, because he's going to find that those concerns were misplaced. That Financial Review Commission legislation passed the state House 103-7. It passed the Senate 36-2. It was something that was discussed in enormous detail. And I am going to sit on that Financial Review Commission to make darn sure that every single document they ask for, every single concern they raise, is responded to promptly by the city of Detroit. The legislature agreed to put me and the council president on there to make sure the votes are all 9-0, not to try to get to a 5-4. And I think you're going to see the Financial Review Commission operate, as we keep talking about, professionally and without drama. And I want to thank the governor and the legislature for their support in doing this. To my neighbor in the office, Kevin Orr, I'm going to wish him the best of luck. It was great to get a chance to talk to Donna today, and the one thing that she and I both agree on is we are really happy that he's going back home to Washington, D.C. Kevin and I did not start out on the best of terms. You never saw any sign of it in the public comment, but through the entire thing, he was 100% open and honest. And when you look at the result in the bankruptcy court today, I don't know how anybody could do anything but acknowledge he's done a fine job. The entire city of Detroit owes you a debt of gratitude. And Kevin, best of luck with wherever you go and whatever you do next. And if I had a tense relationship with Kevin Orr the first year, my relationship with the governor wasn't a whole lot better. When you quit your job, spend a year of your life running for an office, get elected to that office, and are told you can't really do it because the governor has appointed somebody else in your position, it isn't a good start to the relationship. And so it has been pretty challenging. It's been an interesting process. I know outside of Detroit people don't really understand, but I would say most Detroiters fully supported the bankruptcy, saw the need for it, understood it, but would have preferred that the very sensitive decisions about what happens to the city assets and what happens to the city employees and retirees be made by the folks that they elected. But I realized in the course of this that whether you agree or disagree with the governor, he was motivated by a sincere desire to help the city of Detroit. That was what was behind these actions. And as I came to understand that, it got to be a lot easier. And today, the first thing I guess I need to say to you is congratulations. This is the second biggest day of the week for the governor. But we talked today about a fresh start for the city and a fresh start for our relationship, and I've invited the governor and his entire cabinet to come spend a day in Detroit next month and then come over to have dinner with the City of Detroit cabinet at the Manoogian, and he has accepted. So we are going to start a new relationship. based on our real partnership, and you're going to see us right away. We have so many things that matter to both of us. We are going to be fully engaged with the governor in passing this road package, which is critical. We are working together to clear the blight out of the city. It's a true partnership, and we are going to get that bridge built to Canada in a way that is sensitive to the needs of the people in Southwest Detroit, and make sure Detroiters get a chance to work on the project. We have so much that both of us are committed to, and I'm really hopeful that this is the beginning of a positive relationship there. So, Governor, I look forward to working with you for the next 3 years.
Thank you. Questions?
I think this is the opportunity for you folks to ask us questions. I hope that at least in my role as a judge and a mediator, you'll understand if I'm not able to fully respond, but that's why we've got these folks up here. They can't hide behind the mediator's role or judicial robes.
I think we have
So,
Ross. Yep. I
you
was
wanna-
going to
you
say,
wanna-
I think Ross Jones, Channel 7, was first in waiting. So we'll go
Okay.
there first, and then over by Alex.
Oh, do you want the mic, Ross? No.
Mr. Mayor, in terms of city services, what sort of milestones specifically can Detroiters expect to see in a post-bankruptcy Detroit that they would not have seen otherwise? What tangible results should they be looking for?
Well, you can go to our website, detroitmi.gov, and see the milestones every week because we post the results. We've been implementing this plan of adjustment, as the judge noted, all along. But if you want to look at the benefit to this, there are going to be more than 200 additional police officers on the street as a result of the plan. There's going to be an additional, yeah, you can clap for that. There's going to be an additional 100 firefighters on the street. There is money to restructure the finance and the HR departments. And the way that we have worked, because the emergency manager and I were working together, we have been implementing the elements of the plan of adjustment for the last 5 or 6 months. So people are going to get up on Monday and they're going to see the same thing. I'm very proud to say this past week we had the fastest EMS response time we've had in this city in 5 years. It was under 12 minutes for the first time, which is a huge issue. It was done because we had the money to buy new ambulances and the money to hire new EMTs. And so what this plan allows us to do is continue to improve those services. And I think the biggest difference is that our management team probably spends, each of us, 30 hours a week on bankruptcy issues. Now we're going to be able to work full-time on city services, and I hope they'll improve that much faster.
Governor, the judge spoke to you directly at the end of all of this and was very concerned about the makeup of this financial advisory commission, and specifically the mayor and council president being on there, and that it skews the vote. What do you do?
Well, I appreciate that. I think the mayor addressed much of that already. The goal is if you've got common sense financial issues and you've got bright people on a commission, they should be able to come to conclusions together. This shouldn't be about seeking out 5-4 votes. What I would tell you is the judge actually gave me a recommendation, a caution to make sure we appoint top flight people to the commission. And I plan to do that. I'm proud of my track record. If you look at the 200 plus boards and commissions I appoint, we've done that consistently in each case, that we base it on merit, we get really good people, and we're going to do the same thing for this Financial Review Commission.
All right.
In his concluding remarks, Judge Rhodes said that he was anxious to see democracy being restored to the people of Detroit, and Mr. Orr just repeated that. Could Mr. Orr and Governor Snyder and Mr. Duggan address this very novel idea that democracy can be granted or taken away by the beneficence of the courts or judges or governors? And could you explain how that in any sense compares to the basic concepts of the Founding Fathers, that the sovereignty lies in the people and that democracy is an inalienable right?
Well, I'll take a crack at that one. You ask it in a very philosophical sense, but to be somewhat more pragmatic about it, is city governments are a subdivision of the state of Michigan. And I believe we've maintained democracy. In the same traditional sense, no, but democracy is still maintained because I'm responsible for all the 10 million citizens of the state of Michigan. And I am an elected official. The emergency manager law, to put it in context, is not something that's a subjective issue. It's an objective issue that was defined by the state legislature and a law signed by me that basically says here are objective criteria to say if situations get bad enough, it is not a normal condition. There's a financial emergency and things need to be done in a different context to deal with the emergency. So those are objective conditions. They were met. We had to take additional actions, and if you look, we were on a path to seeing a continuing decline in the city of Detroit. That led to the emergency manager, which in turn eventually led to the last resort, which is bankruptcy, and people should always view that as a last resort. It is not a regular option to be taken lightly. And so we went through that process, and the important part is we're emerging from the emergency, we're emerging from bankruptcy, and I'm very pleased to have traditional governance back in the city of Detroit. That's where I've always had the condition. I don't want emergency managers. I want traditional governance, and I want to play a supporting role to let the people that were elected within that community lead their community and be a partner with them.
Thanks, Corey from the Associated Press.
Everybody's getting along right now. It's been a long road. At some point, though, whether 4 or 8 or 12 or 16 years from now, all of the offices that you guys are holding on, there'll be different people and different faces in those offices. What's in place right now to make sure that years down the road that all the work that's been done, all the pain that everyone's gone through has not been for naught?
Yeah, that's the point of the Financial Review Commission from a legal point of view. I mean, that's been established because the point of having that commission is we have a very good working relationship, I believe. But it shouldn't be about who's in the office, and we need appropriate oversight on financial matters, so we modeled it after what took place in Washington, D.C., and New York City, what's been successful in other communities that can be more in the background, and again, give flexibility to allow the leadership of the city to run the city within certain parameters and making sure there's good financial oversight. The other thing that goes beyond that, though, and the opportunity we really have in terms of working relationships and working together, is how do we create a culture of success? Because the goal of good public servants, in my view, is not to say why you differ or what you disagree on, but to recognize we have a common customer. Every citizen of the city of Detroit is also a citizen of the state of Michigan, and we both have the very same interest, along with the city council, of making sure we give them the best service possible. And the more we work together, the better off we are, and us spending time not agreeing or having conflict adds no value to that equation.
Matt Helms.
My question is for Judge Rosen. Absent the kind of precedent setting that was expected in the beginning, what do you think the legacy of this case is going to be legally for other cities and other places that are getting in financial trouble?
Well, you know, Matt, my deliverable was to avoid precedent-setting legal decisions. My deliverable was a fully agreed-upon plan of adjustment, which we have. I think the legacy of this bankruptcy will be teamwork. Anybody, the folks you see up here, all the folks you see up here, at one point or another and throughout the bankruptcy, worked together. And it's amazing what you can do when, first of all, you don't care who gets the credit, and second of all, when you're willing to open your minds and your hearts to people who may have different views from you. And that's true for a mediator whose job it is to listen to the creditors and bring them together. And it's true of the folks up here. And there was a lot of negotiating that went on, but the bottom line is teamwork. As the governor said, as the mayor said, as council president said, we're all in this together. And it's about bringing people together. And maybe one of the touchstones of this teamwork is, you see it represented up here, quite uniquely, 3 different branches of government working together. The executive branch of government, the legislative branch of government of both the city and the state, and the judiciary. Most of my mediators were judges, and that's unique. And maybe that'll be something that other cities and municipalities, counties that face what we've had to face, maybe that's something they can take from this.
Jim, Channel 7.
collectively, with all the legal minds up there, there is the ASF recoupment class still out there who could appeal. They've told me they will appeal this today. How confident are you that this process ends here, that there won't be a Sixth Circuit Court that would overturn any of this, including the constitutional protection on pensions and so on? How confident are you that it ends here with this?
If that's to me, that's above my pay grade. We've done what we've done here in the bankruptcy court. Any reviewing court will have to look at this. I'm sure that any reviewing court will look at what we've done here and what we've accomplished as a whole, and look at the law that governs. I thought that Judge Rhodes' opinion was about as cogent, and I'm sure his written opinion will be even more thorough and comprehensive, but it'll be for the Court of Appeals to review.
Chad from Detroit News.
Governor, Judge Rhodes made a point there about pensions. He said general obligation bonds cannot be the first things that get paid. He seems to be signaling that there needs to be reform to pensions and the priority of paying pensions. You want to address that? He seems to be asking for some legislation.
Well, I take his comments very seriously, and it was an amazing opinion. I would concur with the statements about how important it was and how thoughtful it was. We've already started that process of looking not just at pensions, but post-retiree obligations, the liabilities, the legacy liabilities of our communities across the state. That's something we've already had discussions about how to do better early warning mechanisms with jurisdictions, whether they be cities, communities, or school districts. That's something that we need to continue that dialogue, and that's something I look forward to working on in my second term. I think we can continue to improve that because there are longer-term issues, there are issues from the past that we need to make sure that communities are on top of and that there's a strong partnership with the people working in those communities, with us, to say how we make sure we're providing the best service and also taking care of the people that are giving their lives and times to working for those communities.
ML Elric.
Thanks. The judge had talked about some people who are going to feel some pain, some of the city employees and retirees who took cuts, and he said some of that pain is going to be tolerable and some will be severe. Is there anywhere that those people can turn as these cuts start to come in to get help from the city, from the state? Where do they go if these cuts are more than they can endure?
Yeah, again, that was one of the difficult questions in this. In fact, if you look at some of the special provisions, though, we actually put in a special pool of resources for people that were cut more and put in a situation where they could be in trouble. So actually, there are additional resources to help them through the bankruptcy process itself. Beyond that, again, we try to help all our citizens with our traditional programs and such. So part of the grand bargain was to make sure we were keeping people out of needing that social safety net that we have at the state level. And I think we've got some good provisions. I think we can follow up with you and give you more details on that.
I mean, can they go to the city's website, the state's website as a starting point? Kevin,
I'll speak to that. One of the things that the court mentioned was the income stabilization program that's in place in the plan, where we took money from the UTGO, Unlimited Tax General Obligation Bond Settlement. About $50 million is available. We anticipate some in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 may actually be necessary. There'll be a process in place where they can go on a website, whether it's city or state, and they can apply. They will have to apply for it if they need, so make sure they don't fall below the poverty level. But the governor from the outset was very concerned that just from a standpoint of fairness, but also from level of compassion, that we have something in place to address that, and we did that in the plan with some of the settlements we reached. So that process will be rolled out. We'll give you more information on it, but no one should have a fear that because of the adjustments that are making the pensions, they're going to fall below the poverty level. We're going to hold them harmless from that.
Andre Damon from the World Socialist website.
I just wanted to ask for some additional clarification about the precedent set by the Detroit bankruptcy. There's been a lot of talk, certainly in the press, about the fact that the Detroit bankruptcy sets a precedent for cutting pensions. Should workers all over, municipal workers, retirees all over the country be clutching their wallets thinking, you know, they're going to go after my pensions next?
On this precedent issue, and I've said this before, I'd caution everyone to be very careful to take Detroit as a template or a precedent for anywhere else. All municipalities, all enterprises have different demographics, different historical issues, different legacy costs, different tax bases. They have different makeups of their retirees, their worker to retiree ratios, different legacy debt obligations. Everyone's different, so people need to be very careful. You know, when we started this process, let's talk about on the financial side. Much of the folks on the financial side were talking about how this was going to set a precedent for the capital markets and Detroit would never be financeable again. That turned out not to be true. So I would caution everyone to recognize each particular enterprise is different. What happened here in Detroit is a combination of leadership. At the governor's office, people forget this process began in 2010, 2011. It is culminating now. Leadership in the legislature, tolerance and leadership from the city officials, and a different set of rules and laws that applied in this case, as well as from the foundations that in a precedent-setting effort and the DIA founders brought in a significant sum of money to address those concerns. I'm not aware of any of those things existing anywhere else, so people need to be a little bit cautious trying to use this as a cautionary tale for something else.
All right, Nathan Bomey, Free Press, and we're out of time, so Nathan, you'll be our last question and answer.
I want to ask just a very general question because there was so much discussion about this during the case. Would you say it's fair to say that retirees got a better deal than Wall Street?
The judge's concise and erudite opinion addressed a number of factors required in bankruptcy courts, such as unfair discrimination, so on and so forth, and I would commend you to those. I would not say that. I would say that the result is fair under the circumstances for everyone concerned, and I think that's what we take away from today.
I'd just like to say one word to that. From the beginning, I thought that it was important to try to marshal outside resources. And the foundations, the state, the DIA, and the private donors came through. It would have not been possible, Nathan, to have gone out and raised outside money from the foundations, from the private donors, to pay insurance companies and banks. Not that we weren't concerned about them and concerned about addressing their debt, we were, but the truth is, if anybody, and I asked lots of people throughout the course of the mediations, if anybody can tell me, anybody I can go and talk to raise money to pay, to pay our financial creditors, point me in the right direction. I'm all ears. So in terms of using the grand bargain money, Nate, to fund the retirees, that was really a matter of necessity. It was a matter of necessity, and we used what we had. We used the tools that we had. We used the preservation of the museum, and we used the very real human needs of the retirees who have served our city both in uniform and in the civilian corps. And I don't apologize for that, not for a moment. I don't apologize for it. It was unique. Whether it'll set a precedent for other cities, I'll leave to others. But, we basically took what we had and we availed ourselves of it and we used it. And I thank the foundations, I thank the state, and I thank the DIA and its donors for coming forward.